We are reconvening in open session. For closed session actions, we took no action. So we're calling this to order. Flag salute, all rise. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move approval.
I'll second.
Okay, motion carries. Any questions on the agenda?
I just wanted to say thank you, Lana, for all your service, and we will miss you next year. Thank you.
Yes, very much. Okay, roll call vote. Julie?
Oh, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Item 5, monthly items and financial reports. Can you hear me okay? Steve?
Nope.
You can't hear me? Okay.
Now I hear you.
I'll try to yell. Okay, we have item A, quarterly reports on investments, January 2025 to March 2025.
So this is just our quarterly update. We have a slight increase on the return on our county interest, the funds that are in the county. It went up from 3.47% to 3.55%. And then our OPEB liability trust for our retiree benefits went up, it went up from 1.36 to 1.37. So just a slight increase, but it usually fluctuates throughout the year. And then the county treasury reports are there. There's a link if people wanted to read them more in depth. But what I attached was January, February, March, the county reports, and then also the PARS trust reports.
Okay, thank you, Tara. Item 6, hearing of persons wishing to address the board. I don't have any slips for anyone.
No tonight.
Okay. We like to hear from the public. We aren't able to respond to comments, but anybody can email day before. Item 7, action items. Item A, consideration and adoption of board policy and administrative regulations, board bylaws, and exhibit revisions. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion carries. Do you have any discussion, comments on this? Let me just look up this one real quick. Just have a quick question. This is on district records, policy 3580. So it talks about here, let's see, let me find it.
This is the policy or the regulation, did you say?
Policy,
Thank you.
that's the right one, make sure.
3580.
Let me double check that's the correct one, excuse me. It's about release of personal information. I just had a question. So the district is not allowed to ask any questions about immigration status, et cetera. So does every student, are they required to have a birth certificate?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, no, actually, no.
Yeah,
okay,
that sounds
Yeah,
better.
I mean, we request it and I don't think we have any, but there could be some extenuating circumstances where they may not have it. And then we are obligated to ensure that there's a way to find out that that student is in fact the minor of the individuals that are registering them for school.
Mhm.
I mean, how do you prove that without the birth certificate?
Well, there's other ways that we've gone about. I don't know if we've had to do like in situations where the student is being raised by maybe a grandmother, but there aren't any like court documents
Right.
right? Like legal court documents with that, then we do our best to ensure that we get statements. And then from the parent, if that parent is available, or at least a statement from, the guardians, and we have it notarized. And then there's that other document, it's escaping my mind. I don't want to put you on the spot, Kat, but do you remember that document that there is a document that we attach in these certain situations that has to get filled out by the,
It has I wanna say it has the name waiver in it. but
Yeah.
Basically, the notarized,
Yeah.
or like
Yeah,
take
I
it,
had to do
and the notary completes it,
and verifies, by like driver's license and stuff through the notary process that in fact, child should be with that person.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone have any questions on anything else?
No.
Okay. Roll call vote?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Item B, adoption of the, this is 204-27, local control accountability plan.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So it should be the 2024 through 2027.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 3-year.
I can fix it right
Yeah.
now. I logged in. I move approval for the adoption of the 2024 through 2027 local control accountability plan.
I'll second. Motion carries. Any discussion on this?
I had a couple of questions, but as I'm looking at my numbers, they're not lining up with the actual document itself, but maybe we can just get through that. My question have to do with the surveys. On one of the surveys, there were only 40 parents that, that responded to the survey. So if we have 800 some odd students, and we only have 40 parents that are responding to this, and then we're putting that as data, it just seems like it's too low.
Yeah.
So we had kind of had this conversation last year about how can we improve getting more people to take this survey, right? But I'm not sure that
I
we
did
implemented anything.
also send out through West Ed, Cal Schools, they do our Healthy Kids survey. So there was also a parent survey and a staff survey that I also sent out. And I'm still in the process of disaggregating all that data to add that. But I can look up and see, I think if my memory serves me correct, we had a better response on that.
Yeah, a few years ago, it was up to like 80, but it's
Respondents,
never
yeah,
been
the last
higher.
few years it's been really low.
It's
and-
mostly between 40 and 80.
I feel like we need a raffle or something.
Yeah, and I've sent it out at least 2 times, maybe 3, and then I did that other survey. Yeah, I don't know how to get people to do it.
I've heard that from other districts too.
Yeah.
They get a lot, like you said.
Oh, one thing we did talk about, which I did do, which you probably saw that on there, because I tried to notate that, is I shortened it, because it was very lengthy,
Mhm.
so I think that's awful.
Yeah, the questions, yeah.
Yeah,
saw
so
that
I
all
shortened
the
it, so I had to
questions.
like kind of delineate that
Right.
on there, that it was like a different question asked that kind of hit
Yeah.
that
I
metric.
did see that.
So I did do that as a strategy. Last year, we had a total of 40 respondents. This year, we had 50. But
Okay.
not all of them were parents. Some of them
Yeah,
were
because it was
staff.
staff
Yeah.
and, yeah, I finally found
Yeah,
where it is. But yeah, it just seems so low. It's almost like, why do we bother? Because if we're not getting more responses, then how can we actually make decisions based on just a few people that are a voice for so many?
maybe what I can do, and we can try it. Maybe I start earlier, like maybe in January, and I do like 5 questions.
Mhm.
And then in February, another survey with like another 5 questions.
Mm.
So maybe it's like a quicker thing for them to fill out. That might be helpful.
Yeah,
Do you think they'd be confused that it's the same survey? Like you would have to really.
We'd have to message it the right way.
Part 1,
Yeah.
part 2, part 3. I know it's not really appropriate for me to speak, but what about conference time? As teachers could be like, hey, we have a computer in here. If you wouldn't mind during the last 5 minutes, completed this survey.
Yeah, we could do that. Maybe
Because
like
you
a
kind of
second.
have the parent already there, they're caring about coming to see their
Yeah,
parents'
teacher.
teacher during conference time in the spring, and then you just kind of ask them, do they have a couple extra minutes to
Yeah.
give some feedback to the, school
What about
district?
the pickup line? We'll just pass the.
I could have an iPad, a Chromebook out there and just pass it along as they're reading.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a
But
bad
I
idea.
don't give
I
them
mean,
a report card till they.
that's not wrong.
But
I don't know, it just
Just
seems
come in
that
and pick it up.
It's
it's not digital.
age-old problem, it's consistent, always.
Yeah, but I think it could improve. I don't think we can just say, well, this is what it is. I
Yeah,
think we
the
can do
conference
better.
thing and maybe like shorter, like this is LCAP survey 1. In a month, you're gonna get LCAP survey 2 with different questions.
Well, maybe not call it an LCAP survey, let's rebrand it, like parent input survey.
Community service.
You know, like, then they'll go to attention of like, oh, they wanna know what I
The kid will win a pizza party.
And then along those same lines, it was the same thing with the self-reflection, the local performance self-reflection. I have written down page 13, but none of my things are lining up when I'm looking at this document, but, same thing. The participation was really low, like there was something that in there about fourth graders and how they,
Oh, that's the Healthy Kids survey.
yeah, but there was only like 22 out of like, I don't know. I'm sorry, I wrote all this down so that I could refer to this and then I'm not seeing what
So
I saw.
if you're talking about what I think you are, which is the Healthy Kids survey, so 4th, 5th, and 6th grade have to do an active permission slip, and 7th and 8th grade is passive, and so I don't know if there's a better strategy on getting permission slips back, but the student can't take the survey unless this parent says, yes, my kid can take the survey.
Got it.
So if we're not getting those back, then they can't take it. And I did a parent square, I put the questions, I put the surveys on the website so parents can look and see what their kids were gonna be asked. But I don't know if, I know the principals were trying to ask the teachers to give incentives for if you bring your permission slip back, you can get some PBIS points, right? But I think the reason those are so low is because that's probably the number of families that said, yes, my kid can take it.
Okay, so I understand that, but again, then the comments for the fourth grade was like, whoa, look at the fourth graders don't like coming to school, they don't feel safe, and I'm thinking, well, you only got that little tiny handful of those kids, and maybe the rest of them feel fine, because the
Right.
7th and 8th graders, where you got a broader base,
Right.
they weren't
I think that was the
unhappy.
6th grade, right? It was talking about maybe the transition into 6th grade, but the 6th grade percentage was
Yeah.
lower than the 7th and 8th, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard because I am obligated to look at that, I have to give that survey every 2 years and I have to speak to it in the LCAP.
Okay.
I can't not, so I have to try and, I speak to it, but maybe I should put a little asterisk at the bottom that says, notice the percentage was a lot lower.
Yeah, because it seemed like in it, I'm so angry that I can't look at this and just speak to it, but in it was, you were kind of saying, well, we really need to address this, and I'm thinking, well, do we need to address it, and how are we addressing it when we have such a small sampling? So,
Can we tie the permission slips to the back to school documents that, where people are opting in, yes, you can take a picture of my kid, or no, you can't, and the field trip,
Oh, yeah.
one-time permission slips where parents are going through at the beginning of the school year.
Yeah, the
and-
data confirmation, just
Yeah.
make it a click box.
Yeah, it's every other year that the survey, but yeah, we could, but it's just, I don't know, I don't want parents to feel because that happens at the beginning of the year and we don't always have the surveys all up and ready to go until a little bit later, and then I just feel we could probably do that, but we have to be organized about when it comes time to taking the survey, that parents are reminded that they can review the survey. I don't know, yeah.
Is there a reason why there's an active need? I mean, are there controversial questions on there?
Well, to certain people, they might think, yeah.
Like it says, do you feel safe at school or something like that? Maybe they don't want their kid answering.
Well, and there are questions, so we give there's the core survey that you have to give, okay? And then there's like a social emotional learning, and there's a school culture survey, which those are additional, and I did those because I thought that would give us a good idea, that those are important things. So I'd have to look back at the survey, but they do ask like about sexual orientation, and they're asking that. It's 100% anonymous. Kids, there's no way to connect the survey to the kid because they get a link to the survey and then they just click take survey. So it's not linked to an email and they never put their name. It's just their grade. And the reason they ask those things is because if districts have, for example, a large population of LGBTQ plus students, then they would probably want to make sure that they have resources and programs and things available for those students. They ask things like, they ask if you've experienced with like tobacco use or marijuana use, and some parents don't want their kids to read about that. But we as a district want to know that, because if we see a high percentage of students that are saying that they have participated in those things, then we might want to consider some programs, like some cessation programs, and some programs for students that are vaping, whether it's nicotine or marijuana. So like that's the purpose of it, but I understand like some of those things are sensitive topics to families, and so sometimes they opt out because they don't want their students answering questions along those topics. Yeah. And they'll ask like, do you feel like there's at least one adult on campus that cares about you? They ask about, it'll say like, how many days a week do you feel sad or hopeless, right? And so and I think there are also questions about suicidal ideation, right? Like it's age appropriate how they say that, but sometimes that can be upsetting to folks. But again, as a district, we would want to know that so that if we have a high percentage of those students, we would want to be able to address that. So I think that's why some people decide to opt out.
Okay, thank you. I have a question concerning page 14 and 15. Talks about teachers regularly voicing concerns about the following based on the academic performance of their students on classroom assignments and assessments. So we know about struggling with student achievement in all the areas. But also we know that student behavior and discipline is a very huge issue. And so my understanding is that we have in place the student behavior management system. So would you be able to speak into that, about how the teachers can implement that?
Yeah, so we developed, the district developed in the latter part of the year what's called the student behavior management system, which is a program that has like different levels of behaviors. And so like if the behavior falls within this category, this is how it should be addressed, whether it should be addressed in the classroom or if it's an office referral. And then it also gives strategies and resources on how teachers might be able to address those behaviors. And then it kind of goes down on a chart. If those things continue, then what happens next, right? Like the next level. And then if it's an office referral, what should happen after that? And then there's a student tracker that some teachers and sites have piloted that has to be given administrative approval. And so if a student is really struggling in the class, then there's this like student behavior tracker that can be kept in the classroom with administrators' permission that will kind of keep track daily on what's going on with the kiddo, and they can like restart each day. And then if they're it's color coded, and if they hit it's programmed with a threshold. So let's say Michelle is really struggling with, outbursts, right? And so that's being clicked daily. Then once it hits a threshold of that happening so many times, then a bar will pop up, and over on the right-hand corner, strategies will pop up for the teacher, like maybe try this, or look at this resource tool, and there's different things that'll pop up there. for support, and then you keep going, and then if it meets the next threshold, then a bar will pop up and say, stop, don't keep using this tool, refer to the MTSS, for a like pre-SST referral. And then, the kid starts going through that process. And then there's also other things that are embedded in there, like if a kid is being sent to the office for the same thing multiple times, then the principal is supposed to be calling in the parents and having meetings and maybe setting up like behavior contracts, or if the kid has a behavior intervention plan, then we need to look at that. Maybe that needs to be revised. So it outlines it all on this like flow chart. And then there's a district shared folder that every teacher and administrator has access to across the district that has all of the resources and all of the teacher support and also instructional videos on how to use the tool. So there's been a lot of time spent on it. We've tried pushing it out. I think it's been pushed out at some sites more than the other to kind of try for the latter part of the year, so then we can have discussions about maybe some things that need to be tweaked. But for the upcoming year, it's gonna be like mandated, like that needs to be district-wide and followed. Of course, like there's probably gonna need to be things that might need to be changed depending on how things are going. But I think it's a pretty strong tool. There's been a lot of effort and time spent, lots of meetings with administrators and MTSS, special educators, about it. And so that's a tool that we have, and it's ready to go and ready to be rolled out. Teachers got laminated posters of the flow chart to have in their classroom. So that's kind of a quick summary about it. Do you have any other questions?
Is it being used with any success?
I've heard that it's been helpful, and the discipline referrals have seemed to be less at Oakhurst Elementary. Is that a fair statement, Kat?
Fantastic.
There's still some additional like with any new program, just the more you use it and the kinks and things that you work out. I mean, like teachers need to get more familiar with it. I need to get more familiar with it. But I see a lot of hope and promise from my side.
And I know that, Kat, your site had a couple really positive conversations around like the office referral, like paper form.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were like really good conversations with teachers, and of course, Kat and her team like took that feedback and then they adjusted that. I think it was like 2 different colors of referral forms.
Yeah, we had like a general like office note, like, so when the students would go to the office and the teacher would check like injury or like whatever reason it was. And so discipline traditionally was one of the reasons on the slip, but we decided that we would change like the discipline slip to purple because there were more things that needed to be filled out, and then we could use that, like it would just stand out more, and then we could use that for tracking.
Yeah, I think it was a reminder. So anytime there's an office referral, so there's a Google form for an office referral, but like we know, like as a classroom teacher, sometimes you're just like the kid needs to go to the office and you're busy doing stuff, so you can't like fill that out right away. So maybe they fill out that purple form and then they're like, okay, like I'll do that later on my break or after school. And so that's a good reminder too, like the administrator can go in and check, and if that hasn't been done, they could like put that back in the teacher's box and just say like, friendly reminder, can you please add this? Because we want to be able to look at the responses of that office referral Google form, because then it's easier to like look at that than like a whole bunch of slips, right? So then we can look and we can like filter it maybe by like classroom or by time of the day, and we can start really analyzing like, okay, what's going on with like this kid, or whatever the situation may be. So we really want to make sure that even if it gets handwritten, it eventually gets into the digital side of things. So that's why they did it kind of separately, and then the administrator can kind of manage that better, and then be like, and then if the teacher's like, like I'm swamped, like, can you do it? Or like the secretary maybe can enter that. But it's a reminder of like, okay, we need to check on these and make sure they're on the Google form so that we can track and collect data on what's going on.
I have a question. Do you think that, I'd love to see this
is the flow chart enough if you sent it to us in an email, or do we need to see this like on a computer with the tools? Like, could you show us maybe at our board workshop or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah, I can show
I mean, I
you.
don't know about you guys, but I'd like to just see what it's all
I mean, it
about.
sounds amazing, right?
Yeah, I could show you, I can show you the tools that are in the folder, I can show you the flow chart, I can show you, there's also a chart that helps like with, certain behaviors have been tied to like suspendable offenses. So like that's helpful for administrators, right? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I would be happy to walk you through. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Maybe even have it presented at a board meeting if it's not a big problem. Have people watching be able to see that.
We could, I think Mr. McDonald touched on it a little bit when he came and did his TSS presentation, but not like, obviously his presentation wasn't just that. But yeah, we can look at,
That would be
maybe
great.
in our workshop, we can kind of look at it, because it's a lot, like it would be kind of a long presentation, and then you guys can say like, oh, maybe this piece, and this piece would be nice as a presentation at a meeting for everybody to hear. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Sounds like a lot of effort's been put into that.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember if we went through the whole thing last time.
I think we're just supposed to.
Oh,
just
she went
gonna-
over all the actions in the goals.
Yeah, I went over all the goals and actions,
Okay.
yeah, so, if you have any more questions about it, and there were, no emails or nobody, because when you have the public hearing, then between the public hearing and tonight, the public could, email me or come into the district office with any comments or questions or concerns, and we didn't get anything, so.
Roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Aye, it's unanimous. Next item, 7C, adoption of the budget for 2025-2026.
To move approval of the budget for 25-26.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on this? Terry did a good job presenting that last week. Appreciate all your hard work always.
Thank you.
Okay then, roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye, unanimous. 7D, resolution number 25-12, adoption of the education protection account funding for 2025-2026. Is there a motion to approve this?
I'll move approval. I'll second.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this item?
So this is something we do annually, our Education Protection Act, our funding. We currently use it for one teacher and then a portion of another teacher because it's only around 150,000 or so. But Ed Code requires you to adopt the resolution for the next year and then also have the budget report on the expenses. It's pretty simple because it just has the salary. But that way we're in compliance with putting it in a public setting, saying this is what we use the funds for, and we're in compliance.
All right. No other questions?
No.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Item 7E, resolution number 26-01, authorization to pay bills and warrants on behalf of the governing board. Is there a motion to approve?
I move.
I'll second.
Okay, any questions on this?
Since we got it.
And this is for next
It's the
year.
same every year we do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta be able to
Just
pay
a
the
simple-
bills.
Yeah.
Okay,
And the bill.
roll call vote, please.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. 7F, resolution number 26-02, authorizing the establishment of temporary interfund transfers of special or restricted fund monies. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Any questions or comments on this?
I had some questions. So how does that work?
It's just temporary, so like, let's say we didn't have enough to make payroll, we could borrow money from the cafeteria fund or the capital facilities fund temporarily to the regular general fund, and then, once maybe we're waiting on taxes or something to come in, and then you have only within that fiscal year, and you can only borrow a portion. So it's just a temporary loan, like if we were stuck, we could borrow it from one of the other funds, pay what we needed to pay.
What happens if you kind of get pinched in that?
Well, we've never done it. Since I've been here for 8 years, we just always had this resolution that protects us in case we were in an emergency
Yeah.
situation.
It's the same one we do every year, right?
Yeah, and it's only temporary, and that's why they don't let you borrow the full amount. It would just be, in a certain scenario, and of course, it'd be approved, at a board meeting. And it's a really unique situation we haven't run into,
I don't know.
unless they,
Is it like,
did a deferral and didn't give us our funding.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul and all that.
Yeah, but you have to put it right back, so it's really,
Yeah.
you're not borrowing it forever.
Roll call vote?
aye.
Aye, unanimous. 7G, approve the 24-25 expenditure report for Prop 28 AMS funds, the Arts Music Fund. Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval.
I'll second.
Any discussion on this?
This is required to be approved by the board by June 30th, so that's why you see it on your agenda. And actually, if you look at it, you say, wait a minute, that says midnight or whatever the day I submitted it. I'm gonna go back in and revise it, because you're not really supposed to submit it till you have the board meeting, finalize it. So I'll go back in and put the time of the meeting, but it's basically, they just want it in a public setting of how we use those funds, and it's a minimal amount of funds, and we just use it for our music teacher.
I do have a question.
Sure.
On the form where it says allocation here, it has 24, 25, and 23, 24. But the title of the report is 24, 25.
Oh, okay, it's because there's carryover.
You have to include that.
Yeah, so it'll always, it's a 3-year period each time. It's kind of like the LCAP. So each time, the next one will have the 3 years, and then it starts over again. But it is ongoing funding.
And as you mentioned here, we're excited for next year with the addition of our second teacher and our new band teacher to join the amazing Tamara Dent.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome to get that robust band program going.
I understand there's gonna be theater arts too as well. That's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, she's been doing that. Tamara's been doing theater.
So that'll continue.
Yeah, as an elective.
Wonderful.
Band will be 4th through 8th grade. So more opportunities.
All right, roll call vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Item 8, information items. A, the California School Dashboard Local Indicators Report.
So this is something that happens kind of in tandem with the LCAP every year. And so it's the California's accountability system is based on a multiple measure system that assesses how local education agencies, otherwise known as LEAs, and schools are meeting the needs of their students. Performance on these measures is reported through the California School Dashboard. So basically, there's a template where you go through and it's like a self-evaluation on all these priorities listed here, which is the attachment. I do that in document tracking, which is the same platform that I use for the LCAP. And so they give you a template and you go in there and you reflect on how you're doing on these different priorities and fill that in. And then once you're done with that, you go onto the California dashboard and you essentially do the same exact thing that you did on that template on the dashboard. And then it's just you either met or did not meet based on your self-reflection. And so you have to let your board know that you did that and share that document with them and then upload that to the dashboard. So that's the supporting document that's attached.
Any questions on this?
Okay, so this was the document that had can I actually am on the right page?
Yeah.
I was looking at the wrong document, but page 13 is where it has the district-wide participation rates for the fourth grade and all that. So you've already gone over all of that, but that wasn't really part of the LCAP.
That's why
it
it wasn't.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And I do those so closely together, so I'm just like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was this
I mean, it
document.
is, it's part of it, but it's not.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Since our students are not excelling too much in math, is there any getting away with the Common Core?
It's a statewide issue. I mean, it's just they're really, really struggling. The good news is we're going to look at some different curriculum for next year. Are you asking me if I think it's because of Common Core?
The kids
I'm
seem
gonna
to
say
do
no.
better before Common Core came to be, right?
No.
No, okay.
I think that the standards are very rigorous, and I think that it's a different way of looking at math and teaching math and understanding math that is difficult and rigorous. And hence the scores statewide. Yeah. It's very, much more conceptual than procedural.
And
Right.
memorization.
And like rote memorization, like kind of how like a lot of us learn how to do math, right? And so there's different components of making sure that students really understand the concepts behind it. And there's a lot more like of having to explain how you came to the answer instead of just that's the answer. So,
And there's a learning curve for parents being able to help their kids on this.
to some degree, I mean, we've been doing it for a while now, but
It's been a long time, but my opinion is that, like so many things that come from the government, it's the intention of it is good, the implementation of it, not so good. Because Common Core, the reason why Common Core came out was when you have students in your classroom, and then they come from another state, they're lost, because they've done completely different curriculum, completely different timeline on when they were studying things. So the idea was to create something that could be common, that's the idea, a common core set of standards that all students are learning. But they started with the assessment, which is a poor way to start anything, and they rolled it out, K-12, another poor idea, because it should be started kindergarten, rolled out, rolled out, rolled out. That's how Scandinavian countries roll out anything new, but we didn't do it, so then everyone was just thrown into the deep end of the pool, and then you get resistance, and it just, the wheels fell off of it before it ever started. And so then you get pushed back, and here we all are, however many years later, and it's still kind of a mess.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I wish I had a magic wand,
Yeah,
but I
I
don't.
mean, people seem to do fine with math before they came out for a long, long time.
Well, we were,
Oh, well. Okay, well,
we were
any-
competitive in an international market. Like, it's, everybody else is doing it that way, and then we are left behind. If all you care about is grades, then what you're saying is true, but it doesn't give students skills where they can compete internationally.
but if they're not passing, then
They still don't have the skills, but.
It's why part of like what we're talking about with the academic plan and some of the things that leadership's talking about is like, okay, like, cause there's so many standards, right? So like maybe we need to like hone in and like look at like what are sometimes called the power standards or the essential standards, right? And really focus on those and get kids really to understand like those foundational skills of like those overarching standards that build upon. And maybe just kind of like narrow our focus and maybe that'll be helpful and less overwhelming.
that'd be great.
Mhm.
Okay, anybody have any other input on this? Okay, roll call vote, please.
It's just an
Oh,
information
that's
item.
right, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. And our next item on information is Education Code 42141 compliance as it relates to workers' compensation.
So because our workers' compensation is through a JPA, which is a Joint Powers Authority, it means we're in a pool, actually most of the whole valley, we're all part of CRMA. The Ed Code requires us to report on their balance sheets and their financial statements every year, so we usually do that at this meeting. So we report on the assets and their net equity position, just saying that everything we're putting into the pool, you know, that they are financially stable, which they are because their net position's 25 million. But so we're just in compliance by sharing that data annually, just saying that the pool we participate in, you know, has a good net equity.
Tara?
It looks like it's in good shape.
So we'll move on to item 9, superintendent's report. Mrs. Townsend?
Yeah, I just have one thing tonight. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that was involved towards the latter part of the school year in organizing our extended school year program. So we run here at OES extended school year for our students with disabilities. It's a requirement by law per their IEP. If they qualify, they get school beyond the school year, right? And so we have close to 30 students participating. And that's, there's a lot of behind the scenes work with that and getting that set up everywhere from transportation to food to budgeting and getting teachers and assigning paraprofessionals. So payroll, all sorts of things. So just thank you to everybody that was involved. Like I said, transportation, thank you, Kat, for helping with that. Scarlett, our special ed director, just getting it all set up with spreadsheets and all those things. And it's going really well. And the kids seem really happy. And just sort of on a selfish note, I'm excited. I'm administrator in charge, but the best thing about that is I now get to facilitate the students that have speech and language therapy because they're getting that remote virtually through extended school year, so they need somebody to sit with them. So I get to do that. So that's cool because I, in my position, I don't get to interact with the kids as much as I would like to. And so that's kind of filling my bucket a little bit. So that's been nice to be able to do that with them. And just thank you to the teachers that are, giving up a large portion of their summer and the paraprofessionals as well to be there for the kids and offer that program. They're appreciated. The teachers are Miss Sanders and Miss Tani Tapoya and Miss Becky Knight. And I would have to pull up the spreadsheet to rattle off all of the paraprofessionals, but we have 3, 6, 9, about 10 of them or more. And they've also been fantastic. So thank you to all of them for working that program and everybody behind the scenes to get it put together. That's it.
Board member comments, Julie?
Sure. Let's see. Oh. I just wanted to thank everybody in the district. I know that we have a lot of new positions, new faces, and some more yet to come. And I'm excited for the upcoming school year with all of the forward thinking that we have going on in the district. And I am excited to see where we go next year.
I have nothing to add. I say ditto.
Nothing to add? Okay. All right, well, I want to say I think we did good getting through another school year. And we had a lot of changes with personnel, which was a challenge with Mrs. Archer retiring and Lana leaving and Robert, but I know we're going to get better people and newer people on board and coming on, so that's going to be a whole new thing. I wanted to say a special thanks to Michelle for a very good first year trial by fire here in our district, and you were a real big help in representing us and our various legal challenges that we've had, and including lockdowns and expulsions and probably several things that I don't even know about. So I really want to say I appreciate all of that. And in addition to that, hope we all have a good summer and can come back roaring like a lion in the fall.
Roar.
Denise?
I have no comment tonight, thanks.
I hope it's not a spoiler alert, but we're going to be doing Mrs. Townsend's evaluation tonight, and I wish everybody could read this because it's beautiful. We just think she's an absolute professional of the highest standards, of the highest ethics, working extremely hard, and you don't have the appreciation that you deserve, I think. So you're a true professional, Michelle, and I'd like to just give her a hand because truly, I wish everybody could read it.
If it was easy, everybody would
Well,
do
the
it.
district office continues working hard. Thank you. All right, item 11, any future agenda items?
Do we want to make sure that the flow chart is on our governance agenda next month?
Yes, for a special meeting.
Yes.
That's on the 15th.
16th,
July 16th.
July 16th, yeah.
Special meeting.
Is it at 3? July 16th at 3?
5:30. 5:30.
No, it's not a public meeting. We can eat whatever we want.
Well, we had a 5:30, we can.
Oh, training. Oh, I wanted,
Yeah.
Whatever.
you have it
I
at
have
3,
it
but
at
it says
3.
5:30. Okay,
Well,
that's
I
fine
had
if
it
you
at
want.
3 too. Well, I think we must have talked about 3 o'clock, because I have it on my calendar at 3 PM as well. Anyway,
Well, that
You
screenshot
can
says
be here at
5:30.
3.
well, it's a special meeting in July.
Yeah.
So
You
do
guys
we
would
want to
like
meet
have
late
it
at night?
Earlier than.
Early is fine with me.
I'm good.
I'd rather meet, if we could meet earlier, since it's not gonna be a public meeting, right? Then
No.
we can meet whenever we feel like.
Well, it has to be agendized as a public meeting, so if people wanna come, they can.
If they want.
But we can still make it at 3
But it can be earlier, it doesn't have to be at the same time as our,
We normally don't have a meeting in July, so
Right.
it's an extra meeting. I say we go to 3 o'clock because that's what my calendar already says. We must have talked about that.
So you don't have to change it.
Yeah,
Is everybody in agreement?
Yes.
and
I'm
then
fine with
does
it.
3 work?
Yes.
It's
So we
fine.
can be home before it gets too late.
Sure.
And that's
Steve, are
on
you-
July
Yeah,
16th.
You're good with 3? Okay, so we were going to be doing our board self-evaluation and also our board governance, reviewing our handbook. All right.
Also, I had a question. I wanted to see what the board thought about, I thought it might be useful for us for that meeting to kind of assess where each of us are in our, like, governance training. If we've completed masters in governance, how long ago that was, if we're due for a refresher, if we've all done our Brown Act training, if we've all done our ethics, if, I know we all went to, CSBA, conference at the end of last year, and we've discussed that maybe we're gonna do something local or a retreat or a one-day thing or whatever, and would you guys be, open to, me doing some research and collecting data, maybe getting a report from CSBA where they have our names and the trainings that we went to in case you can't remember? I could ask Tara what she's paid for like a history. So, and then kind of know what the budget's gonna be for this year, and then we can make plans regarding that.
I love it, and thank you for taking that on.
So by the time you meet in July?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally doable.
Awesome.
That way we can, build capacity in ourselves, make sure we're up on all of the current, processes and laws, and make sure that we're doing our job to the fullest.
And I have a question, the ethics, that's every 2 years, or is it just?
We'll talk about that.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
got it.
we don't need to.
We're not
that's part of that document, because it gets confusing to remember, right? Like which ones do we need to do annually, which ones biannually?
Public School Works usually pushes them
Who's
out.
gonna tell us as the board? Who's
Yeah,
responsible?
public-
That's what we're gonna talk about in this
Yeah.
meeting too. Who's responsible of reminding us of our duties as they fall?
Probably the administrative assistant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. So Tara, do you mind compiling that information?
I put it on my calendar for next week.
Thanks.
At 3 o'clock? I'm just kidding.
Okay, so that was future agenda items, right? No, or that was,
Yes.
yeah.
Future
Yeah,
agenda.
talking about the July, yeah.
Next meeting all at
Okay.
once there.
Our next meeting date for the regular meeting, I believe, is August 20th. I left my phone in the car, which confirms that, but I'm pretty sure it's the 3rd.
We found out, I know there was some discussion of moving it to that week because the week we usually do it on, which is the second Wednesday, conflicts with the start of school and everything, but there's a requirement by law that we meet and do the 45-day budget revision by, if the governor signs the budget on June 30th, we'll have to meet no later than August 14th.
Oh,
Our meeting was the 13th, that was that Wednesday. So it just depends within the next few days when the budget is signed, because one year it was signed on the 29th, another year it was signed on the 30th. But there are going to be revisions to our budget. We already know that because of all the vacancies and changes that are up in the air and things that drive me crazy because I don't know for certain what's going to happen. So we'll have to bring back a budget revision by law in August. So we'll have to have we can't have our meeting on the 20th.
We're gonna have to move it up.
I mean, we know we have to make budget revisions, we just don't know the date yet until the governor signs the budget. Most likely, I'd say August 13th would be a safe bet because that's a
just
Wednesday.
a day before it's.
Yeah, it's
typically
14th is
due.
the cutoff, yeah.
Okay.
Unless he signs
Okay.
it,
And
So,
I know
August-
the concern is because
school is starting.
school's starting, but I know we were trying to push it out, but what about doing it, I mean, is it doing it a week earlier, would that be more cumbersome than the week of school start?
It's both awful.
Both of
those
them,
are
either
awful.
one are a good
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah, and I work all summer and I'm taking like 3 days the week before, so I gotta wait.
I hear you. Okay, good.
One
Need
of
a
the
little
things
break.
about doing it the week before is like often we're setting up for like the
Oh,
whole.
yeah. I get that. I mean, I was just troubleshooting because we can't do it the week after. I was just.
I think we do this every year too, because we're like, oh, we should change that, and then I
And then
forget,
have
and
to
then we
move it back.
remember now why we can't have it sooner, but this last year, the 24-25 budget, we had no revisions, because nothing was changed after the governor signed his budget, so if there's no revisions, you don't have to do it by a certain date. So I think because in the past, the LCFF and the funding and everything stayed the same for a couple of times where we didn't have to meet by a certain date, but this year I already know there's gonna be changes.
Okay.
Okay, so we are adjourning this meeting.